Good evening, and thank you for joining us on another Cleveland Public Library, the Next 400 digital discussion. Chris Tanaka from 19 News guiding you through another meaningful and important conversation about some of the topics and issues that matter most in Northeast Ohio. It is the holiday season. We are a week and a half away from Christmas, and while so many of us are planning to celebrate the holidays with festive gatherings, ornamentation, large meals, family, and of course gifts, there are so many of our neighbors who will not be able to do that because of their situations, their financial issues, and of course poverty. Tonight we are going to address this situation. We're going to give you a lot of information on it that you may not be aware of, but we're also going to equip you with ways to not only take advantage of the resources that are available through the Cleveland Public Library and other organizations throughout Northeast Ohio, but also equip you with ways that you can help out, that you can donate, that you can give, and that you can make the holiday season a little better for some of our neighbors, our friends, and our family. We have an incredible panel tonight. Introducing first is John Corlett. He is the president and executive director of the Center for Community Solutions. It's a think tank here in Northeast Ohio that does incredible work in mining pertinent data that can be used for the greater good. We also have two representatives from the Cleveland Public Library itself, Dr. Sadie Winlock. She's the Chief Equity, Education, and Engagement Officer, as well as Twyla N, who's the Director of Inclusion and Leadership Education. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I can't wait to hear all the things you have to say. John, I'd love to start with you because the center itself is always, as I said, mining data, presenting data on a variety of social strata. When it comes to poverty in Northeast Ohio and in Cleveland, what research has been done recently and what sticks out to you?
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to the Cleveland Public Library for having me be a part of this conversation tonight. In terms of poverty, one of the things, there's actually some good news in the short term here in that poverty rates have dropped. They were dropping through the end of the 19s of 2018, 2019, and then, of course, we hit the pandemic in 2020. And that's when a lot of us were very worried that, at the beginning of the pandemic, before some of the federal assistance became available, I think it's difficult to overestimate the challenges that families faced in Greater Cleveland before some of that assistance was made available. But with that assistance, we saw really dramatic drops in poverty in Greater Cleveland, particularly among children. That was where the improvement, I think, was the best. And it really underscored, I think, the importance of really active federal government participation in some of these programs that make a difference for people. Things like, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. One of the things we worked on was expanding that program during the pandemic, because when children were out of school, they lost access to those free and reduced school lunches, that they had come to depend on. And so we were able to get, actually, I should say, with our former Congresswoman, Marcia Fudge's help, a new federal program that aided families whose kids were out of school and missing those lunches. So we look at the data. You can look at the neighborhoods in Cleveland that historically have faced challenges. Some neighborhoods have improved in terms of poverty rates more than others. But I think it's important to understand where poverty is and where things are getting better as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we look back, as you just did, as far as how the pandemic, which we're still in, but through the beginning stages and certainly the surges we have seen affected people's ability to work, to engage in education, and to even be food stable. Twyla and Dr. Winlock, if you would both please take me back through some of the considerations that were done in the early days and continuing through the pandemic of how the People's University, the Cleveland Public Library, maintained its service to community, which is so close to the heart of the mission of the library.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation this evening. One of the things that we try to do at the library is to identify the needs in the community and then align our services to that. Prior to the pandemic, a lot of what we did, all of our programs and services and activities actually took place in our 27 libraries or downtown in our main location. When the pandemic hit, we had to reach out to all of our partners and really examine all of what we did internally to switch to virtual and to reach out to our patrons and the people that we serve to really help them understand that we were still here for them, but the way we would reach them would be different. I must admit, initially, we lost some folks because of our digital divide, people not really having access to computers, and that was really the way we were trying to connect. But we began to look at other ways we could reach people. We really went back to how can we provide programming through the telephone? How can we provide programming using the cell phones and that type of thing? And we were really able to begin to increase our visibility through Twitter, those kinds of other resources, other forms of media, social media that kept us in touch. And what we're finding is that we've gained a new audience of people who really like to be reached that way. And so it's interesting as we begin to open back up, we believe that we're going to have what we're calling a hybrid, where we continue to do some things virtually, but then reconnect with people who want that face-to-face contact.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people that may depend on it even, as you said, because not everyone is connected. As a matter of fact, Cleveland has one of the lowest connectivity rates as far as any large metropolitan area in the country. Twyla, how adroit does the library have to be now in managing the day-to-day? Certainly, we're seeing a surge in Northeast Ohio right now in COVID cases, but also, reaching people who don't have resources, who don't have transportation, who might be suffering and having exacerbated effects of the pandemic, but certainly because of financial stress and distress.
Well, the great thing about our locations is that we're located throughout the community. There's 27 plus branches, so there's access, hopefully for some of those who don't have access within their community, that they can walk to a branch and get access to our 211 phone, get access to using a computer, have access to one of the food bags that we give away. So there's ways that we're trying to make sure that even though we don't have full operating hours that we had before COVID, there's still an opportunity for folks to get to us. There's also to us providing opportunities online through a lot of education programming, conversations and discussions that we have, so that if you're not able to walk to a branch, you have the ability to access our resources online. There is an ability to actually check out hotspots and check out computers, so you can take that resource home and still access some of the things that we provide online in the comfort of your home. So we're doing our best to make sure that we can try to reach the community in the way that they need in order to have those resources available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach is huge.
Reach is huge.
It really is. One thought that just jumped into my mind is when I was having a conversation with CMSD CEO Eric Gordon in August on this platform. He said, in March of 2020, I asked, what was your first concern? Safety, continuing education, educational gaps. And he said, no, Chris, it was feeding students.
Yeah.
It was 10 meals a day that a significant portion of CMSD students rely on that were suddenly gone. In our recently completed Share Your Holidays donation drive, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank stressed that 1 in 5 children in Northeast Ohio remain food insecure. John, when you dig into the numbers, what are some of the downstream effects to insecurity, both with food and shelter and some basic necessities that we seem, to take for granted, especially during a holiday season.
Thanks, Chris. Before I do that, I want to comment on something Dr. Winlock said, where she said, there sort of be in a hybrid situation, between sort of in-person and virtual. I think that's really important because when you look at the data, particularly around internet access in the city of Cleveland, there's a lot of difference between neighborhoods. So a neighborhood like Edgewater in Cleveland has like 90% household internet access, where neighborhoods like Central or Huff, it's more like 50%. So their ability to be in those neighborhoods and sort of reach people that way, I think is really important, and to offer that other help. The question about food insecurity in children, I think, is really important because everything we know, and this is common sense, everything we know, if children are food insecure, they do worse in school, they do worse on tests. I mean, there's been research that's been shown that, for example, when families lost maybe their SNAP benefits, maybe during that time when students were taking tests or exams at the end of the year, they performed worse. They did not do as well. And that, it's like what our mothers probably told all of us, you need to get a good night's sleep, you need a meal, you need, to be fed in order to do well in school. So, the efforts of the Cleveland Public Library, the Cleveland Municipal School District, and others to make sure that, and the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, to make sure that we get help to these young families and these children in need will pay dividends for years to come.
Yeah.
And if I could add there, Chris, if you don't mind, one of the things pre-pandemic, the Cleveland Public Library was serving 20 to 70 kids every day across our system. When the pandemic happened, we were concerned, like Eric was, about kids getting food. So what we did was we expanded how we would reach them, where they could pick up the food from the library and take it home. We also increased, with the food bank, we took on another program called the Backpack Program, which provides food for the weekend. We then expanded to the Family Box, where the family could get food, dry goods for a whole week's worth of food. So I think everyone is really trying to get food because we understand that food is kind of that foundation for a child or even an adult to be in a position to want to learn, to want to work, want to look beyond their current situation to improve the quality of life.
That is remarkable. So many people, I think, just still have the notion that a library is a place you go to check out books. But I mean, Twyla, I can see you. Really, Cleveland Public Library is so much more than that. Community centers, People's University. How do the mechanisms to provide meals work? And some of the anecdotal stories that you hear from some of your frontline employees and providers who distribute these meals.
So I'll give you a little bit and I'll let Dr. Winlock kind of chime in on to that. But, the thing about providing a meal to someone who is in need, oftentimes we don't go asking for it, right? So when you're in need, the person who needs the most isn't the person that's going to show that they need it. So our librarians are very keen. They are the People's University. They understand the people and which they serve. And so they have the opportunity to be able to have relationships with the folks that's in the community and to be able to just recommend or suggest so that it's an offering to everyone. So regardless if you show up and say that you need it or if they recognize that you need it, there's an opportunity for you to have access to it. So that's the great thing about the People's University is providing access to our community and to the people that we serve, and then recognizing the people who look like us in the community and work with those people as well. I want to talk a little bit and go back to something that you mentioned about poverty. And so you understand that there are different types of poverty. And so when you mentioned about COVID, one of the types of poverty is situational. And so a lot of times when it's situational, you have to react in a certain way. And I'd like to say that the Cleveland Public Library understands the situational poverty that we have in our community, and they're trying to address it in every way that they possibly can. And providing those meals and adding on, as Dr. Winlock talked about it, was the way to address that situational need that our community had.
Yeah.
Chris, one of the things that people know very little about, and we're working very hard to get the word out, is you're right. We're not just your regular library anymore. And we're even becoming more than a community center. We are a convener. We are a hub of community services. When we have a patron who comes in and needs something, if we can't provide it, and we don't already have a partner, we find a partner that can support that patron. And what we're finding is we have partners. You know, Cleveland is amazing to me. We have all kinds of resources, and we're all struggling to get those resources to the people who need it. Sure. And the wonderful thing about the library is I don't care who I talk to, everybody has a story about growing up in the library. From, people saying, I was bullied when I was a kid and the library was a safe place. And I began to dream through books and working with the branch manager or the children's librarian opened up my world to different things. Or if it weren't for the library, I could never have made it through high school. Or if it wasn't for the library, I would never have learned how to use a computer. I mean, we have those anecdotal stories and hear them all day long. So the thing that we're really trying to do is really introduce people to the real People's University, that you don't need a degree, you don't need to fill out an application, there's no tuition. You can come in and let us know what you want to do, what you want to be, where you want to go. And there is space in the library to make your dreams come true. And I know that sounds like a commercial, but it's so true. I talk to people all the time, and it doesn't matter whether it's someone living in poverty or someone who's highly educated, professional, CEO. Most people don't realize how much we do at the library, from helping people. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out how to build your business, we have information at the library to help you do market analysis. We can help you identify who else in this space is in that business. If you want to put together a business plan, we can help with that. If you want to identify how to get a grant to support your business, we can help with that. I mean, it's just unbelievable, all the things that we have. If you're looking to change careers, we have job opportunities, and we partner with Ohio Means Jobs and other folks to identify what you want to do, what's available in the greater Cleveland area to help you with that. If you're a senior and you want to learn how to operate a computer, as a matter of fact, tomorrow we're giving away 100 computers to seniors in this community and signing them up for computer training. So the sky is the limit on what you can learn and do at the library. If you just want to experience something new, and you want to figure out, I just want to learn how to bake a cake, and I've never cooked before. We can help you with that. I mean, it's just amazing, what you can do at the library.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, last year when we were preparing our television program and we were highlighting some of the library users in these unsung hero segments we did, I would say if there's one commonality between all of these people who walk different paths in life, it was that their local branch offered sanctuary. And no matter what route they took within the library, that first step in was sanctuary. Those are incredible resources to have with the library's more than 24 branches. John, how important are resources to communities? How starved are they? And when you look at the data, what does it tell you about having access to resources in underserved communities?
Oh, I mean, it makes a tremendous difference, Chris. I think, one of the things that, the library is often the place that people go to when they need help. And a lot of our public benefit programs and things like that are very complicated. It's the government, so it's complicated. But they'll go to that library and that person say, well, I can help you, submit that application. I can help you upload your documents and get them in so that you get the help that you need. I mean, it's just, I'm a Cleveland Public Library card holder and Cleveland Public Library user. And, Yeah, and I'm also one of those people, Doctor, who get their recipes at the Cleveland Public Library from that cookbook section down there at the main library. But because there's a lot of help out there for people sometimes, and they don't know it. They don't know how to access it. They may have issues with language, with literacy levels, or things like that. Some of these forms are really complicated, and so having somebody, that friendly face, who knows how to do those things, who knows how to upload those forms, can get people help, that can put people ahead. One of the things we know about, particularly around children, that children who have access to help in those younger years, whether it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or Medicaid or things like that, are going to be more successful as adults. They're going to be more secure. They're going to be more financial, have better well-being, and do better in life if we get them that help early on. And there's no better place than the Cleveland Public Library to do that.
It really is remarkable, John, when you can kind of qualify and track the probability of the quality of a person's life based on the very basic beginnings of it.
Yep.
It really is remarkable. And, one thing when you said different languages, I was connecting with a remarkable woman, Elaine So, who is the CEO of Asia Services in Action. And she does such incredible work for Asia Town, not only here, but also in Akron. And one of her key points that she drills down on is offering services in multiple languages. Because people, right? We think, sure, communicating, that's obvious, but it's more than that. It's being comfortable in an environment where you will be understood.
Right.
And I think that's incredibly important when we have these interpersonal interactions. I think one thing that I've noticed being in all of the library branches that I have in the vast variety of neighborhoods is that, Dr. Winlock, it seems like everyone in the library speaks the language of the community.
Right, and we have support for people who speak different languages. We have English as a second language, and so did I lose you? Okay,
I'm still here.
Okay, we have English as a second language. We help people with who, for some reason, have not graduated from high school. We have our Aspire GED program. We have. And Twyla can talk a little bit about our employee resource groups that are really helping us to reach different populations in the community, so we better understand our differences so that we can build programs, services, and activities to really relate to the different groups and populations in Cleveland. We're like a rainbow coalition in Greater Cleveland. There is a population representing almost every ethnic group from around the world. And our role in the library is to make sure, first of all, we know what their needs are, and then we try to address them through our programs, services, and activities. And that's what our branches do. Our branch managers, our branch staff really understand, as Twyla said, they understand the community, and they talk to the community about what is it that you need, and then we try to figure out how to address it. So I think all of the programs, if we don't have it, again, we partner with those folks who do. We have partners that help young people who are pregnant and don't know really anything about that whole process. We partner with them to help them with the prenatal care, and then after the child is born, 0 to 3, how do you take care of that child? We then have a program that we support called our Young Scholars Program, that at 3 years old, we began to help them get ready for kindergarten from 3 to 6. We have another partner that picks up at first grade that helps them from 1st to 3rd grade. Then we have programs that help them from 3rd to 6th grade, 6th to 8th, and through high school. We have programs around STEM. We have reading programs. Through our partnership with Cleveland State, we have a tutoring program where we can help kids with after-school tutoring and support their matriculation from 1st grade to 12th. I'm telling you, you cannot think of anything that we don't do to support anyone in terms of what they want to accomplish. I think our biggest issue as a community, when you talk about poverty, is getting our services to the people who need them. One of the things that we're trying to do is, yes, we have 27 locations, but now we're trying to figure out, how do we take the library to the people who need it? How do we go to those communities where they may not feel comfortable? Maybe they've never been in the library before. Maybe they can't read. How do we take our services and introduce them to the populations that don't come to our libraries, to build patrons out of them and provide this access to them? So that's our next step. That's what we're working on.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, Twyla, I want to put you on the spot here. Being 10 days out for Christmas, there's a family in need, and in some way they want to make Christmas better. Is there a way the library can help?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked me that question, because I was prepared for that one. So there are so many, and Dr. Winlock talked about all of the resources, but there are so many things that we can do to make sure that everyone has an amazing holiday. So we have a lot of take and make crafts. So there's an opportunity for you to come and pick up a craft kit. There's a video that you can watch to make something, and then you give it away. Or maybe you do it as a family. There's also our Tech Central that we have in our main library branch downtown, where you can create different items. You can make things so that you can then provide something as a gift. We have all of these online resources where you can watch movies, listen to music. So there's a way that you can celebrate together and maybe put on some holiday movies through our online apps. There's ways that you can maybe take a class together. So there's an opportunity to learn another language. You could do that together as a group, as a family. So there's a way to do things together. And then if a kid wants to surprise their parent with something, there's a way to go to your branch and work with the librarian to ask them if there's something that you can make. Pick up one of the books that shows you how to use and make crafts and see if we have some of those materials there. And just like Dr. Winlock said, our librarian understand, and they'll probably help you get some of those materials just to make sure that you have something that you can give. We also have our 211 phones in all of our branches. So if there's something that you need as a supplemental for your meals or whatever it is, to make sure that you have some sort of celebration or connection together as a family, we have that resource there for you. The power is in the library card. So all you have to do is have one of those. And there's a way for you to get your library card online, or there's a way for you to walk right into a branch and get your library card. And you will have access to everything that you possibly can through that power of a library card.
It's amazing.
I'd also like to add that we collect things and give them to people who provide donations. I was in the office yesterday, and one of my staff was collecting hats, knitted hats for babies to adults. And then we donate those to organizations that volunteer and give those things away. She had, I don't know, at least hundreds of bags. It may not have been 100, but it was a whole lot of hats, knitted hats. So those are some things that we do to make sure people are warm and comfortable during the holidays as well.
That's fantastic. John, does the Center for Community Solutions have charitable partners as well?
We work very closely with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. And particularly around helping people get benefits that they need. I'm glad that Twyla mentioned 211, because I think that's really important. And the Cleveland Public Library has been a great partner with United Way of Greater Cleveland to sort of operate that service. And again, it speaks to Dr. Winlock's comment before about if they don't have the partner right there, they find a partner, and 211 is a great way to do that. So if you have any need, 211 can help you reach that need. You can call it directly yourself, or you go through the library. But we work closely with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to make sure that families have access to food and those nutritious services. So,
yeah, it is remarkable, especially the reach that the Greater Cleveland Food Bank has, where they can take a single dollar and turn it into 4 meals that can provide that warmth inside of you. That's not just literal, but figurative as well. They were one of our partners, and I want to mention this for our Share Your Holidays initiative, as well as VOA and the Salvation Army, and all of our donation sites for our audience is still up at cleveland19.com. So you can click on the link as far as Share Your Holidays if you choose to make a donation, and we are still accepting donations monetarily through our website to all of our charitable partners as well. It really is not only a season of giving, but a season of need. Twyla, let me begin with you. When it comes to the holidays, what is your message to your neighbors and the communities across Northeast Ohio when it comes to spreading joy in the way that they can to those who are less fortunate?
You know what? The gift is in giving. It's not in receiving. And so if you have the opportunity to give, you know, John mentioned something, you just mentioned something about ways to give. There's ways that you can do it through 211. There's a whole list of places to donate that they provide resources to. There's also 2 opportunities for you to get out and volunteer. There's ways for you to also just share a smile. So if you are in one of our branches and there's a way to connect with someone, and it's hard to do it with a mask on, but you can smile with your eyes. Sometimes that's all someone needs to brighten their day. And when you're giving, you receive through that way. And so give by just being there, being kind, and figuring out ways that you can provide joy to someone else. That's my message.
John, let's go to you next. Same question.
Well, I think one of the things we can do in the library can be a great partner in this is the gift of understanding. So sort of taking the time to understand what some of the challenges are that families in Greater Cleveland are facing in our community during this time, and figuring out ways that you can help. Twyla mentioned volunteering. One of the ways you could help is volunteering at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. They do distributions every week at the municipal parking lot in downtown Cleveland. So there's a place you could help and distribute food to some of your friends and family and neighbors who are in need. So I think understanding, some of the challenges that people face, but also volunteering, I think, is a very good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Winlock, final word to you.
I'd like the people of Cleveland to know, if you're living in poverty and you're struggling to make it day to day, that you don't have to do it alone, that there are so many resources here to support you, to help you, walk you through whatever you need. I encourage you to reach out to your local library, use our 211 services, and just know that you don't have to struggle by yourselves, that we are a community of not only resources, but of people who care. And we do understand. You'd be surprised how much we understand what it means not to have a meal, not to have clothing, not to have a roof over your head. So we, not like John said, we first have to understand that we're all in this together, regardless to the color of your skin or your ethnic background or your economics. We're in this together. You're not alone. Come to the library and let us help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a heartfelt, genuine message to everyone who is watching 19 News. We've been fortunate enough to partner with the Cleveland Public Library and see how this mission and this sincerity is lived and breathed every single day. It's genuine, it's authentic, and it's omnipresent. So take advantage of the library. It's such a remarkable organization. I would like to say that the 37th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative celebration returns to a live in-person program this year. That's coming up in January. We'll have more on that as the dates get closer. We at 19 News are proud again to have a television experience for everyone who can't be there live and in person. Also, our series on building a better Cleveland, where we spotlight a neighborhood and really talk about not just the triumphs, but the struggles of each neighborhood, continues tomorrow with Buckeye Shaker. And we have been so fortunate enough to have one of the research fellows on loan, Emily Matillo, from the Center for Community Solutions. So she brings a depth of authenticity and fact and data to our presentations as well. So thank you all, not just for this discussion, but obviously everything you do as we continue to strive to really uplift and bring greater equity to Cleveland. So for John Corlett, Twyla Turner, and Dr. Sadie Winlock, I'm Chris Tanaka. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We wish you the happiest, safest, and healthiest of holidays, and we hope that you take advantage of your local Cleveland Public Library branch. Have a good evening.